Hello everyone, this is Darcinova here. It's been a while since I've actually reviewed anything related to Republic Commando. Now, this is the second book in the series, Triple Zero, which again is written by Karen Traviss. Now, for those of you who know, I didn't have so nice things to say about her in my Legacy of the Force reviews, but I've read the first book in this series and I enjoyed it. Now, what do I think of this book compared to the first one, Hard Contact? Now, Triple Zero takes place like about a year after the events of the first book. And one thing I really like about this novel is it dove more into Mandalorian culture. Like, before this novel, we literally knew nothing about Mandalorian culture. Yes, we had glimpses of it in Knights of the Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic 2, but we didn't really get into much detail regarding that. Kangarus, whatever dialogue choices you had with him, he didn't get into the culture of the Mandalorians like Karen Traviss did in Triple Zero. You get a brief glimpse of it in Hard Contact, but Karen Traviss, in my opinion, created the superior version of the Mandalorians, who are far more interesting than what is now considered canon. The Mandalorians are essentially like Spartans and samurai, which makes them interesting. The concept of them, the concept of family isn't about blood. And I find that very interesting. Saw Gerrera, who is brought up a good amount in the first book and is quoted at the beginning of a lot of the chapters, this book actually introduces him in the flesh. The beginning of this novel takes place almost a decade before the events of Attack of the Clones, and this is how, we learn how he met the main characters of this series. Now, in the first book, we didn't really get to dive into the other characters very much, other than Durman and Inten. Now, in the second book, it actually dives much deeper into these characters. Because in the first book, in my opinion, they were kind of two-dimensional. It didn't give us a reason to really care about them. Same thing with Ayrton and Durman. We really didn't have any reason to really care about them because the first novel didn't really get into their characters very much. We didn't get inside their heads and learn of what they want and what they desire. In this book, it dives so much deeper. I know some people don't like the fact that Karen Traviss, bashed the Jedi, but if you think about it from in-universe, it would make sense why people who don't have the Force would see the Jedi in the way that they do. Because I'm just saying this. The Jedi, to the average person in the galaxy, seems like a cult that is out of control. And in this book, it does expose the hypocrisy of the Jedi Order. And some people don't like what I'm about to say. As much as I love the Jedi, they are hypocrites. They talk about valuing life, yet use clones as basically slaves. And this does bring up the question of the ethics of using clone soldiers. People with no past, present, or future. Essentially, the only purpose of their life is to basically be cannon fodder. And I do enjoy the fact that Karen Traviss actually got into this in this book, because a lot of authors in the Star Wars Expanded Universe don't really talk about, how unethical it is to use living beings, even if they're clones, as essentially a slave army, that they're basically no different than the Separatists. And this is one thing I feel like TCW should have touched on, but it didn't. This actually expanded, the Mandalorian cultures and the conflict with the Clone Wars. I feel like this made, the Clone Wars far more gray than the stuff that came out before it. 000, the characters are far more interesting than they were in the first novel, and Saw Gerrera is a really fascinating character. I couldn't help but, continue to read this book. It was difficult to put down. I love this book. 000, I think, is a pretty damn good follow-up to Hard Contact. Hard Contact is a good novel, but I felt like this took what made Hard Contact good and expand upon it even more. Hell, at the end of this book, there's a glossary of every Mandalorian word that's used. So, if you're interested in speaking Mando or learning some Mando words, it's in here, which is pretty cool. I really do love the fact that Karen Traviss gave the Mandalorians a culture. An interesting one, in fact. A culture so interesting that it sucks that we have Dave Filoni's Nazi-like Mandalorian with blonde hair and blue eyes. And these versions of the Mandalorians is amazing. I would like to see these versions on screen. So 000, I would give this a classic rating. I think it's really good. I love this novel. I think it's one of the best I've read in the EU, in my opinion. And even though I had problems with Karen Traviss in the past, you may hear this a lot when I talk about her novels, I actually enjoyed this novel. And if you're one of those people that love Mandalorians, I think you should pick this up. And if you've read the first one and you're curious if it's worth reading the second one, oh, definitely. The second book is definitely worth reading if you're a Mandalorian fan. It gets so much depth into the Mandalorian culture that I think any fan of Mandalorians would appreciate this. This is Darcenovia, over and out. May the Force be with you, and may we all live long and prosper. Thanks, everyone, for watching.